According to Bob Kramer, who lived in the house for nearly 2 decades before writing the book The Demon of Brownsville Road, the land was initially cursed due to allegedly the being site of a Native American massacre of white settlers in the 1700s. It should be noted, however, that this is purely speculation. Regardless of race, if there was a mass murder committed on the site where the house was built, this is likely a cause for ghostly activity. Kramer claims that the paranormal activity was exacerbated in 1909 when a workman constructing the house placed a curse on the grounds, allegedly because the original owner, H.P. Molek, owed him money. Additionally, the builder was allegedly jealous that Molek had such a beautiful wife. Adding to the already cursed nature of the home, it's believed that a doctor rented out one of the rooms to perform illegal abortions. Obviously, there are no records of illegal operations taking place, but a doctor who supposedly performed abortions, Dr. M., did exist in Pittsburg at the time. Or at the very least, there was a Dr. Mann Singer in the area. So, how does this fit into the story? Well, Bob Kramer claims that a Catholic intuitive named Connie Valenti told him that he was a reincarnated spirit of one of the aborted children and that he was born to fight evil. In Kramer's book, The Demon of Brownsville Road, he admits he should have been suspicious about the house the moment it came on the market. While the house on Brownsville Road was his ideal home, he never thought it would go on the market. However, Kramer claims the house went up for sale the week he started looking, almost like it was waiting for him. The sellers immediately accepted his first offer, and the family had a suspiciously inexpensive home in Pittsburg. Kramer says, on his first walkthrough with the family, that one of his sons disappeared and was later found crying on the front staircase, as if something had happened to him. After moving in, the paranormal activity began almost immediately, and stress within the family grew increasingly tense. Initially, the Kramer family believed that they were simply living with a ghost, and not the demonic presence that would soon make itself known. Kramer says that, within weeks of moving in, he and his family began waking up to find their home in disarray, with their lights on and their water running. This may seem like basic poltergeist activity, but soon afterwards, things began to get spooky. He claims that his family witnessed blood dripping from the walls, heard footsteps walking through the hallways, and heard a ghostly pounding. To verify these claims, Ryan Buell from A&E's Paranormal State filmed an episode in the house and caught the brunt of the demonic presence. Buell claims that, while filming in the house in 2005, he saw a metal crucifix bend in front of him and a blood-like substance that materialized on the walls. People magazine clarified in the same article that a forensics team tested the substance and agreed that it was a blood and flesh-like material. In house hauntings, you tend to see the trope of a particular room either being the source of terror for the inhabitants or, at the very least, exacerbating the haunting to a degree that the room becomes uninhabitable. The blue room is referred to as such because it had blue wallpaper and a blue rug. The Kramers thought it was beautiful, but something felt off. The room initially served as a bedroom for Bob's children, although none of them would stay in the room for long because it made them feel uneasy. Kramer believes that the blue room was the epicenter of the house's evil. However, the haunting couldn't be avoided by simply locking up the room and throwing away the key. Whatever the cause of the spiritual attacks on Kramer's family, he believes that the evil manifested itself as a demon named Molek, a shadowy creature who appeared in a black fog and would fill the home with a dank stench whenever it appeared. According to Kramer's book, Molech spent most of his time in the blue room, and if you passed by his lair, he would lunge out at you. One night, Kramer claims his grandson passed the room on his way to the first-floor kitchen and completely broke down after seeing the creature. In his book, Kramer says that he found his grandson in front of the blue room shaking like a leaf and saying, "Monster, monster will get me." Kramer felt that Molek was simply trying to scare his family in order to drive him crazy, and for a while, it seemed to work. However, according to Kramer's book, Molek never truly got the best of him. In Kramer's book, Molek doesn't simply stay in the blue room, waiting to haunt people. This is a demon on the move. Molek's trips through the house began in earnest when Kramer's son-in-law saw a shadow figure standing over a boy's bed in the blue room. Initially, the son-in-law thought it was his wife standing in the dark, but when he spoke to the shadow, it retreated into a crawl space. After that, the Molech began to spend its nights bumping through the crawl spaces that section off the home. One morning, after Kramer stayed up all night trying to ward off Molech with Bible verses, he awoke to a series of scratches along his neck. While Kramer brings up a foul odor that appeared when Molech was around, the most constant form of attack seemed to be scratches that would appear on almost every member of the family. Bob took on the brunt of the attacks, with scratches appearing on his neck and legs. However, his son David also received a massive set of claw marks down the middle of his chest. Kramer and his family lived in the home for 18 years, and in that time, they tried a variety of ways of fighting back, but achieving little to no results. Bob's main course of action was to read passages of the Bible out loud whenever things became too hairy, but he admits that he would also shout at Molech when he became frustrated with the demon's attacks against his children. At one point, the family started wearing crosses around their necks to protect themselves, but Molech even found a way to pervert their faith. Everyone in Kramer's family saw good results from wearing their crosses, except for his son Bobby. Bobby's cross had a way of removing itself while he slept and moved around the room. Kramer claims that every time they found the cross, it would be curled up with its clasp closed, as if someone were removing the small chain from over Bobby's head. This happened multiple times, but finally Bobby found the cross folded in half as if it had been placed in a vise and bent with pliers. When the demonic activity in the house became too much for Kramer to handle, he decided that it was time to call in the big guns. So he spoke to his buddy, the former mayor of Pittsburg, Tom Murphy, who put him in touch with a bishop in the city. From there, the bishop was able to send multiple priests to the home. In an interview on a paranormal radio show, Kramer admitted that he thought an exorcism was like calling an exterminator, and he didn't know that it would be a 2-year ordeal full of Catholic masses and multiple blessings. At one point, after a Catholic priest named Friar Ron sprinkled the house with holy water, Kramer claims that Molech fired back by making blood trickle down the staircase. According to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, as of 2014, Bob Kramer was still living in the house where he spent so much time dealing with a demonic entity. It seems like the haunting reached its fever pitch around 2005 and 2006, but after Kramer brought in the Catholic Church and the crew from Paranormal State, Molech seemingly retreated back to the netherworld. In an interview with WRNR Radio, Kramer said that everyone is doing fine and that his grandkids even sleep in the house. He gives credit his conversion to Catholicism and the fact that he played Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ for over 6 months straight, non-stop in the house. Kramer told the host that Molech couldn't stand the movie. By the end of the haunting, it seemed like the Kramers were the ones torturing Molech and not the other way around.